They have their childhood. They are still kids, and they are not thinking about the Russian invasion. When you're part of the team, you're feeling that you are a part of something bigger. That's what some kids need.
Yevhen Khomyn and the Vinnytsya Wolves are teaching Ukrainian children flag football. Some of the players are from displaced families, and others have fathers serving in the Donbas region.
I know that kids, they understand what's going on. They maybe don't understand totally what's going on, but this war is changing their mentality.
For most kids, it's their first time ever playing the sport.
Мені подобається бути ранінбеком, бігати, ловити м'ячі. Також мені подобається зривати пропорції, але ловити м'ячі все ж цікавіше.
Мені подобається те, що мене вибрали центром і від мене залежить більшість гри.
Weekly practices teach the basics.
Повернулись. Я питаю, хто був, хто не був. Справа з wide receiver post, справа з tight end slant.
The practices offer a sense of stability during difficult times.
They are mentally hurt because of the war, and there should be something where they can feel safe, where they can be like a champions, where they can have a success.
Khomyn and the other coaches work without pay. Their passion for the game is undeniable, but it's their hope for the future generation and desire to rebuild their community that has ultimately brought them back to the football field.
We are not just players, we are family. It's kids, adults, former players, parents of players, and this is Wolves family.
American football began to take root in Ukraine when it was introduced there in the early 1990s. The sport captured the attention of young athletes who wanted to try something new. Tackle football clubs began to slowly pop up across the country. At its peak, there were over 20 amateur teams and hundreds of active players. Now, the Vinnytsya Wolves football family looks very different to how it did before Russia's full-scale invasion. Many of Khomyn's teammates from the Senior Tackle Football League are defending the country. Two members of the team, Ihor Boyko and Ruslan Sapozhnik, were killed in action in 2022.
When the war starts, our community was in a shock, the club community, because we didn't know what to do.
Khomyn spent the first months of the war helping to transport humanitarian aid. On July 14, 2022, the city of Vinnytsia suffered a devastating Russian missile attack. "29 people were killed, including 3 children. For nearly a decade, Olena Rozvadovska has been working with Ukrainian kids traumatized by war.
All of the kids have a war experience, and most of them will need some extra support during this time. For some of the kids, they would need really specialized support from psychologists, psychotherapists, maybe psychiatric also. But in general, most of the kids, they would need just that kind of support that will give them feeling of a childhood, feeling of a normality in not normal situation.
Thanks to its air defense systems and geographic location, Vinnytsia has not been widely hit. The relative calm has allowed for some semblance of everyday life to return. With the blessing of his teammates on the front line, Khomyn opened practices again. Only now, with so many adult players away at war, the focus is on youth flag football. To introduce young boys and girls to the sport, the coaches offer free clinics at local schools.
Цей м'яч він у нас продовгувати. Тому його треба ловити ось так, щоб у вас руки були ось. Коли ми його кидаємо, ми намагаємося так, щоб він закрутився, щоб він не летів ось так. Тому що коли він летить незрозуміло, його важко зловити, він у вас буде випадати з рук.
Children who show interest are encouraged to join the Vinnytsya Wolves football team. Some of the new players come from parts of the country devastated by war.
When we were in schools, we understood that so many refugees in our schools. So many kids are from different regions. We have about 10 refugees right now in our team, and it's great. They found new friends, and they are, in the future, they will be a part of the Vinnytsya.
12-year-old Paulina Bezkorovina is one of those kids.
Я наскільки люблю клуб, це що навіть купила кепку, нові друзі, нова команда і ще тренери круті.
The next morning, eager to start the day's training, Paulina arrives early.
She came almost the first to the practice, and she's not leaving even when I'm leaving. So she stay on the field, and they are throwing footballs with other kids who are living near the field.
Paulina's family was forced to flee their hometown in Ukraine's Zaporizhia region as Russian forces attacked. But even Vinnytsya is not safe from the threats of war. Russian strikes on cities far from the front line are a constant security risk. In the middle of practice, air raid sirens sound the alarm ahead of a Russian attack. The children clear the field, a routine all too common for the young players living through war.
Полина, мы куда? Мы куда сейчас?
В бомбоубежище.
Бомбоубежище?
Певно, коли вже не їде. Ну, зараз повітряно, через 20 хвилин, думаю, закінчиться. Ну, так завжди.
They spoke with the parents. I promised them that on each siren we will go to the shelter. And this rule will never broke down. Each siren, we just run from the field into the basement.
Once the air alert finishes, regular training continues. But at this practice, Yevhen Khomyn is playing on the Wolves' senior flag football team. The club recently won the Ukrainian national championship. But for some of these players, football is not the only thing they are training for. Several Wolves players, including Khomyn, attend weapons training every week. Serhiy Perihonchuk, a founder of the Vinnytsya Wolves, organizes the training.
I am a medical service officer, reserve one, so any day I can be mobilized to army.
The players feel that at any moment they could be called upon to defend their country.
After start of this war, all of our guys started to practice it, to be ready every day, every minute, every hour. We've got our own weapon, so we are always ready to defend our country.
With the war not far away, Khomyn left his job as an IT specialist and then devoted himself to the game.
This club is like one of the biggest part of my life. So almost everything what I'm doing is for this club.
And the Vinnytsya Wolves are doing everything with few resources. Without funding, the Wolves couldn't afford new equipment. Many of the footballs and flags have been donated by the U.S. National Football League through the George Pataki Center's Ukraine Relief Program. The support comes as flag football is rapidly gaining popularity worldwide.
Ready, set, hot.
The sport is even being considered for the 2028 Olympic Games. The teenagers Khomyn coaches are hungry to compete.
When we explained them that flag football probably or mostly will be the Olympic sport in 2028, it raised flag football in their eyes higher and higher.
Yevhen Khomyn hopes his youth practices of today could be laying the foundation for a future Olympic team. But with no end to the war in sight, it will likely be a long time before sports are a priority in the country. For now, the Vinnytsya Wolves are happy to be back on the practice field, scoring a victory for kids in wartime Ukraine.
Все, ручки всі сюди. На 3-4 Wolves. 3-4! Wolves! Дякую за тренування.